Remember, story arc, November 10th, join now. Oh, also, if you join early, you get access to your workouts and to the app and everything early. We'll do our session 0 early and as early as tomorrow. And we will get your program up and running that night. I do the programming after I do the session 0 the day of. And then you'll get early access to your workouts. So, let's talk about meal prep. This is something that a lot of people hate doing. And that's because they see meal prepping as spending all day Sunday, boiling chicken, steaming your vegetables, and making a whole batch of white rice. And that sounds terrible. And so what I did is created this cooking and shopping guide. It's like 5 steps, and we'll go over each step on how to create simple, effective meals with a moderate number, thank you for the follow, a moderate number of ingredients. Actually, there's like a low number of ingredients, and ingredients that you enjoy, and keeping it super simple. So ideally, these meals shouldn't take more than 20 to 30 minutes to make, but you are kind of at the, you're the master of your own domain, so you have big control over this. And so the first thing we need to do is create 3 lists. We're going to create a list of proteins, veggies, and then other forms of carbs, we'll say. Alright, so it will be mostly going to be meat, but let's say chicken. Spell chicken wrong. And let's say steak. And you know what? Let's say nuggies. Because who doesn't like nuggies? And then let's do veg, but let's do stir fry, medley. What, cauliflower? I like cauliflower. I don't know how to spell cauliflower. I guess in here. Okay, it's not. Cauliflower? Cauliflower. And then let's say broccoli. Broccoli's got 2 C's and 1 L, right? Yeah, okay, I got that right. And then carbs. You guys talking shit about me in the chat yet? Hey, I appreciate that. Yes, I seem educated and real, so I followed. I try to be as real as possible. Educated. Yeah. So TV, you seem educated, and I don't know how to spell cauliflower or broccoli. So yes, I am very educated. Yes, thank you, Bird, talking shit. Yes, so proteins, normally in the form of meat. If you want to do plant-based, you can. Tofu, there's all sorts of plant-based proteins. Harder to kind of gather because less available, but not impossible. Veggies, take your pick. Carbs are going to be other forms of grains. So are going to be grains and other forms of carbs. So going to be like your rices and beans and legumes. That's why I say carbs instead of grains, because I want to include like beans and stuff in this list. So let's say white rice. Let's do flavored rice. I really like flavored, like the chicken flavor rice. The Knorr, K-N-O-R-R. Let me write that down. That here. K-N-O-R-R. This is a really good brand for flavored rice and noodle packets. And then let's say beans. So we got a list of each. And in this ebook, you have a full list. So again, for those just tuning in, this is completely free. Bird will drop the Discord link, which is also free. And if you're on our Instagram, the link is in the bio. So I think I have it. Hold on one second. So you're creating your 3 lists. Also in this ebook is an empty print, semi-print friendly. You can't quite see it with the shadow, but there's an empty table that you can fill out. And also for us D&D nerds, you can turn this into a roll table. And so if I wanted to, I could add a fourth. Actually, let's do that. Carbs, mac and cheese. Let's say peas and carrots. So that's actually not a bad medley. And let's say chicken thighs. So one thing you'll notice, for the astute viewer here, some of these aren't healthy. So chicken nugs, not that healthy, quote unquote healthy. Chicken thighs, going to be higher in fat than chicken breasts. Steak, depends on the cut, can be high in fat. Arguably, some people argue not healthy. Mac and cheese, I don't know what world mac and cheese would be considered healthy. But the trick is, now that we've made this list of foods / ingredients that we enjoy, right? Everything you put on this list is something that you don't hate. You pick one of each. So you can do your standard chicken breast, broccoli, white rice. Or you can do chicken nuggets, cauliflower, and then maybe like a flavored rice. Or you can do chicken thighs, broccoli, mac and cheese. Actually, if you put that together, that should probably be pretty solid mac and cheese. I like to doing steak, stir fry, and then maybe instead of one of these, you can do like a tortilla shell. Shell. And so you can see how you'll be having like literally fajitas, right? Actually, I don't know if Lucky Legend's in here, but he was telling me today that he's making, I think, chicken stir fry. And so you can see how there's a large variety of what you can do here by just creating 3 lists of ingredients of foods that you enjoy. And this isn't exactly just going to be a 3-ingredient meal, but if you just did, you know, chicken breast, like frozen cauliflower that you threw in the microwave, and like a flavored rice packet, and then threw that all into a bowl, that would be 3 ingredients. But step 3, so step 2 is pick in one of each. So let's do that. Let's do steak, because this is what I was thinking of. Steak, do the veg medley, and then we'll do tortilla shell. So we pick that. Next is going to be essentially how you prepare, how you sauce, how you season it. And I know there's kind of a lot in this particular step, but it doesn't have to be. And that's why I wanted to keep it as like laissez-faire. And so steak, you can add like your steak seasoning, ground beef stir fry. That sounds pretty solid actually. It sounds pretty good. So steak, you can do like a steak seasoning. You can do salt, you can do pepper. You don't really have to. But we like doing the McCormick steak seasoning. That's pretty solid, especially if you have a leaner cut. Like my particular favorite is like a sirloin, which tends to be a leaner cut, so it needs a little bit of assistance when it comes to flavor. So a little bit of seasoning on that, and then veg medley. Those tend to come, you know, pre-frozen in like a bag. All you have to do is throw that onto a stovetop, and then your tortilla shell. You don't have to do anything with that. And I like to slice and pan fry just because it takes a lot less time, and so your meal can be done in the amount of time it takes to cook whatever protein it is. So whether it's chicken nuggets, they take like 7 minutes. But if you dice up chicken, throw that on the pan to do stovetop, and then throw any frozen vegetable into the microwave, that takes like 7 minutes. And then a lot of like your pre-made flavor packets, rice, beans, all pasta, all those will stovetop in like, I think like 7 minutes as well. So you can have this whole thing done in the amount of time it takes to prepare chicken, which tends to be about 15 to 20 minutes. So you can see how this can be super quick and easy, and add a lot of variety without needing to get a whole lot of ingredients. And I know some clients that will make their list, let's say they make a list of 5 of each, they'll buy one of each ingredient and then just kind of mix and match, and that's their meal prep for the week. And you don't have to prepare all of this on Sunday. What you can do is, there's 3 phases to meal prep. There's planning what meals you're going to be making. There's qualifications, yes. There's planning what you're going to be making. Plan. Then there's, you know, acquiring the ingredients. There's shopping. Can you guys read that? I think that's too small. So there's plan, shop, and then actually cook, right? A lot of people try to turn that into one step. You can do these two, you can plan and shop in one step. Ideally, plan what you're gonna do before you leave the house and then go shopping, or do like a Walmart pickup order, and then cook. A lot of times people will do these in 2 different days. I think that's totally fine, and I think that helps kind of divide the load up a little bit, because you don't wanna go shopping and then come home and cook. But what we like to do, what Bird and I like to do, is we'll come up with maybe a handful of meals, like 2 or 3, and then just cook them throughout the night, or throughout the week, excuse me. And a lot of times it's something simple like chicken, white rice or flavored rice, and then like we'll throw in some beans maybe, and maybe like a broccoli or cauliflower, and then we turn that into like a burrito bowl. I am a big fan of just eating taco meat, which isn't like on here. But you can do like a homemade, another burrito bowl, throw anything in a bowl and it'll be good. So meat, veggie, rice in a bowl, and you're good to go. And that is that. So let me double check. So yeah, plan your meals in advance. Go shopping, which step 4 is planning your meals in advance, like what we just talked about. And then step 5 is surviving the shopping run, for those of you reading along. Step 5 is surviving the shopping run. And this is something I talked about last week, I forget what day. But there was some lady who she made a dumbass post about how you need to stay away from all essentially processed foods. And arguably just shopping on the outside of the store, which is good advice. Like shopping the perimeter is kind of like your rough and dirty advice on how to properly shop for whole foods that are not as triggering, I guess, or tempting. That'd be a good word. Not as tempting. And so the perimeter of like your shopping centers tend to gonna have produce, then like maybe your lunch meats, then your cheese and dairy, and then other meats, right? And so shopping along those lines is what's posted in here is a good idea. Never shop hungry. Pre-plan what you're gonna be shopping for, so that way you're not running in there thinking, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then getting a bunch of half-assed ingredients, because I've done that. And so, yes. So this is proper meal prep. This is really all you need, and easily get it done. And a lot of clients, myself and Bird included, see great success by just having these lists made. And then if you want, you can roll a D4 for each and see what RN Jesus has to say. Why did you say processed? So next are some bonus tips. I don't need to write on the whiteboard for this, but surviving a night out or eating out or fast food, this is most people's kryptonite, because when they can do this, no problem. When they're in home, they're in their own domain, they're perfect, right? Meals are prepped, you got the Tupperware in the fridge, everything's locked in place. Until you get that text on Saturday from your boys saying, hey, you wanna go to Taco Bell? And you're like, yes, I do. And so you go, and you don't have anything planned or prepared, and so you are left completely helpless, dead in the water, and you black out, and before you know it, you have $40 worth of Taco Bell sitting in your lap, and you're not sure what the hell just happened. That is because you did not set yourself up for success. Yes, most things in the middle of the grocery store are processed. So, going back to this, you are left without a plan because you are in this state of all or nothing, to where when I'm home and I'm meal prepped, things are perfect, I'm great. And then outside of that element, I have no idea what to do. I have no control, nor do I have any structure to support me. And obviously life doesn't work like that. And so what you can do is come up with, I have lists. You can seek lower calorie options. So what I like to do with our clients is come up with, you can either write it down, or I call it a mental menu, come up with lower calorie options to buy at your, whatever your favorite fast food place is. Taco Bell, for our example. They make power bowls. Those are pretty solid. Bird likes those. They make like a power burrito. That's not terrible. Their chicken tenders are actually really not that bad, but I don't know how long they'll have them. And so like your power bowl, it will probably be your better bet, because I think that's going to be around for a lot longer. Yeah, and you can definitely have a treat every once in a while. Who's to say you can't have a grilled cheese burrito because it's in your calorie budget. But this is for people who want a little bit more control and don't necessarily have all the calories to burn to get $40 worth of Taco Bell. So chicken over beef tends to be lower calories. Do grilled over fried, or what do they call it? Broiled over fried or crispy. Those will cut down on calories. You can definitely swap out your sides for veggies. This would be more for like a sit-down restaurant. But if you were to get, like a veg medley instead of French fries, you're gonna cut down on like probably 200 to 300 calories there. Portion control. This is a big one. So what I like to do when I go to a restaurant is, thank you for the follow. What I like to do when I go to a restaurant is get my, whatever I want, like I say I want to get a burger or pasta, and then just cut the meal in half and take half of it to go. And so you can do that right when you sit down. If you're somebody who can't really practice portion control and just moderation, then get a to-go box like right away, put half of it away, put it in the box, close it, you don't have to worry about it. And then you can eat the half that you have in front of you. If you get like a burger with fries, you can eat the sides, because chances are the fries aren't going to last, but they might. And so just cut your burger in half. It's a really good way to cut your calories in half, almost quite literally, and you are giving yourself another meal. So you're cutting the price of the meal in half because you're getting 2 meals for the price of 1. So bang for your buck on that. You should. Definitely should. I think that's like one of the quickest, easiest, actionable steps that you can do to cut your calories in half, save money because you're cutting your price of your meal in half. And I would do it in the beginning, like right when you get the meal, because a lot of times when we're out eating, especially at a sit-down restaurant, it's more about the social experience than the food itself. So we will mindlessly eat until our plate is empty. So cut the meal off, cut the meal in half in the beginning at first, and then put it in the to-go box. So then you can kind of mindlessly eat there, one step at a time. My problem has always been being told, oh man, you're touching a nerve there, finish your plate. Yes, I made a post about this last week about how, believe it or not, you don't have to finish your plate. And yeah, so that was that. The last step was request half your meal to go from the start. If you are one who literally cannot control what you eat, you can actually ask them to plate it or to box it before they even put it down for you. So I want to touch on what Pickle just said about thank you for the follow. 60 followers. I never thought I'd live to see that day. But one thing Pickle said, always told to finish your plates. There's a lot of starving kids in Africa, Ethiopia, wherever the hell people are starving right now, and they would kill to have your leftovers, right? How many times have we heard that? And so one thing, that was a huge mindset for me. And one mindset shift that I had to really help with that was, if I have food on my plate that's not worth being leftovers, right? This isn't food that we would put in a box to go for tomorrow. This is food that I wouldn't even justify taking home. I will then, instead of binge eating it, becoming overly full, stuffed, bloated, guilty, full of shame because I ate too much, because you didn't want to waste it, I would then say, I am taking this plate, let's say there's $2 worth of food on this plate. I am taking this value of $2 worth of food on my plate that's not worth being leftovers, mind you. I am instead investing that money into my health. So I'm justifying that cost by saying that $2 that I'm throwing away is actually going into my health because I'm not eating it. And the inverse to that is, if you can't justify investing that $2 into your health and you end up finishing your plate and eating that food, feeling stuffed, bloated, guilty, shameful, then you are then saying your health isn't worth that $2 extra. And so that mindset shift has really helped me to where it's like, no, I am worth more than $2. My health is worth more than $2. And I'm willing to throw away $2 worth of French fries that are cold and stale, that aren't worth taking home, in order to, invest that back into my health. So that is what I do. And I hope that helps you. So last bonus tip. This ended up being a little bit longer than I thought. That is good, Bird. You are worth it. You are all worth it, friends. Surviving the D&D session, right? The dreaded D&D session where there's always food at the table. you're there for 4 to 6 to 8 to 12, 24 hours, however long you play D&D. Ours tend to be around 4 to 6 hours. And we have an unwritten rule at my table where we don't put food on the table unless we're actually taking a break to eat. So I don't like having snacks just sitting in the middle of the table because it's very distracting for myself and others. So what can you do to stop that? First off, eat beforehand. Unless you know you guys are actually going to be having an intermission where you eat dinner, then I would say eat like a snack beforehand. Also, make sure you budget out the calories that you are going to be eating for like dinner. A lot of people on D&D night, they do tend to not overindulge, but they do tend to indulge a little bit more, so you can kind of bank extra calories throughout the week. Definitely practice moderation. One thing I don't like seeing is just mindlessly snacking. This is something that I used to struggle with when I was a player before I was cursed to being a forever DM. Actually, Mark, if you're watching this, he is going to be my DM now because we just started a campaign. Him and I just chatted about it today. We're playing on Sunday. Oh, Bird, I'm playing D&D Sunday at 4. And so, be mindful of your snacking. Don't mindlessly eat, right? We are always wanting to fidget with our hands, building dice towers, doodling on the side of our character sheets and stuff like that. And so instead of doing that, be mindful. If you do want a snack, go grab a plate or bowl or whatever, put the food in the bowl, the plate, and then ideally remove yourself from the source. If you can't just remove all the food from the table, then try to push it away from you as far as possible. And then have your little bowl or plate or whatever of the snacks already portioned out, and then you can kind of mindlessly eat there, rather than mindlessly eating out of the bowl of candy or bag of Doritos. Because that gets very dangerous. Opt for 0-calorie drinks. I think this is a good rule all around, but if you're there going to be sipping on something, maybe make it Coke Zero or like Powerade Zero instead of the full of sugary drinks. Excuse me, if you want to indulge in an alcoholic beverage, you can do that as well. Just make sure you track calories. Bring healthy alternatives. This is, nobody wants to be that loser who is telling other people how to eat. But if you brought like, a little plastic baggie of maybe some like fruits and berries or veggies, or like if you brought in like a healthier charcuterie board, I would say ask your group first. Maybe if you wanted to bring healthy alternatives for the group or for yourself, right? If you want to bring a cooler of just some small veggies with hummus and stuff like that, I think that's totally acceptable. And in fact, you might inspire others to be healthier as well. Again, I don't think that's anything wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing your own food. Plus, a lot of people who have food allergies will probably do that anyway. Last one, engage in the game. And just always there, mentally present, physically present, writing notes on what's going on. So that way, when the DM asks you next session, does anybody remember what happened? You will be the only one that actually does know what happened because you had it written down. You were active and you were present in the moment and you weren't worrying about eating as many Kit Kats as you can or trying to kill that whole entire family-sized bag of Doritos. Because you were present in the moment and actually focusing on the game and the strategy of role play, all of that. And so if you're able to just take your mind away from the snacks, then that can be an easy way to limit snacks. As well as sipping on like a diet soda. You could bring veggies, just not ranch. For those of you who don't know, I hate ranch. My hot take is nobody should eat ranch. So that's that. We chatted a lot longer than I expected on meal prepping and how to eat like during the D&D table, at the D&D table, and going out to eat and stuff like that.